Right, so welcome to Lit Soc. It's Thursday, it's just gone 4 o'clock, and we are expecting the legend who is Mr. Gibbons. Mathematician, poet, comedian, quiz master, although he did not win Mastermind when we did it, but he is very good at dressing up as a bee for the spelling bee and doing the scores. And just general all-round good guy. Will be exploring, I think, so what went wrong with Russia. So we'll try not to offend anybody, but you know, it's contemporary. Okay, so before we start, a couple of things, maybe even more than that. Tonight, anybody know what's happening tonight at 6:30?
The World Cup starting. Is it something else?
Is it? I didn't realise it started
It's
tonight.
starting
So it's going to be
today.
nice and quiet on the road. Well, that'll be time to do the shopping as well. And where is it kicking off?
Something more Lit
Where
Soc
is it?
relevant. Someone knows it with you.
Mexico.
Tonight. Mexico tonight. Mexico City?
Okay, just be patient. Just be patient.
Mexico City?
It's on the border.
No, Mexico.
I'm pretty sure it's Mexico City. Yeah.
Is it?
Mr. Gibbons will tell us because
Mr.
he
Gibbons will
also
know, because
is
it's-
football guru. He's running the sweepstake for the staff.
Here it is. Right, thank you.
Yep. Don't all stare. Anybody got any other?
The women's prize is being announced.
The Women's Prize for Fiction is being announced. What is the Women's Prize? I hear you say. And somebody tell me.
A literature prize for women's books.
Yes. And can you tell me who set it up? Either of you. Wrote a book called Labyrinth.
I don't know.
No?
Kate Moss.
Oh, yeah.
Not that Kate Moss.
Wow. An answer you don't know. I've got one over you on you. Okay, Kate Moss, who also
Kate Moss.
who set up the Women's Prize, because she felt that when they looked at the stats for the Booker Prize, what's the Booker Prize?
The prize for adult fiction.
Yes.
Mostly.
What won it this year?
We talked about it.
Flesh, absolutely, well done. Obviously controversial choice, as we know, don't we?
Kate Moss as in the historical fiction.
Yes, historical fiction, but also Gothic fiction. She's got connections to Chichester, so some of her, but also she's very interested in Carcassonne and the Cathars. Who's anybody here intending to study history any further in their lives? Yep.
Doing it A level.
Yep. Well, then she's a person for, that's that part of France. Okay, so here are the titles that are in contention, a shortlist. The Mercy Step by Marcia Hutchinson. Okay. Kingfisher by Rosie Kelly. Can I have some drum rolls, please? That's better. Right. Addie E. Kitchens.
Don't look at me.
It's not with a K, it's with a C. Sitchins.
Maybe.
Dominion, which has got a chalice on it with a snake in it. Macbeth.
Yeah,
Maybe.
could be.
Maybe.
Another drum
And
roll.
something I really enjoyed called The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. If any of you have got connections to the States, this is set in the States. And Lily King, Heart the Lover. We've got that, haven't we? Yeah.
And also another one there. Flashlight.
Flashlight. Can you remember Flashlight from the Booker Prize? Georgia, can you tell me about it?
I think it was they woke up on a beach somewhere. I don't quite remember, but we thought it might be.
Brilliant.
a
That was the bit we looked at, wasn't it? Absolutely. Yes. And if you remember, it starts in Japan, but it wanders. It goes to America, and it goes to China, and it goes to Korea. And I won't reveal the denouement, but I guessed. Give me a clap for that. Too late. Anyway, so that's by Susan Choi. So there's a really good list, and a very much more interesting one, I think, than the Booker. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So some of those can go on the list that you're compiling. Okay. So that's at 6:30 tonight, and you can watch it on the web because they have their own website and they will be announcing it. You won't see the whole of the dinner or whatever else is going on, but okay. And it's now called the Women's Prize. It used to be called all sorts of other things. And Audible, we know about Audible, don't we? What do Audible do?
Audiobooks.
That's right. Read books to us, okay, in the car. And there's also a non-fiction shortlist as well. So here we go. Lise Doucette, who is one of the greatest war correspondents or foreign correspondents ever. She spent a long time in Afghanistan, and this is called The Finest Hotel in Kabul, A People's History of Afghanistan. And the history of Afghanistan is so complicated that she's really teased it out. Have you read William Dalrymple, The Last King?
No.
Okay. Etchi Temelkuran, apologies, Nation of Strangers, which has an olive branch on the front. What does an olive branch represent? Peace, yeah. Rebuilding home in the 21st century. Loads and loads of people have no home at the moment, don't they? In various war-torn places of the world, yeah. Now, this is very interesting. This is Arundhati Roy, Mother Mary Comes to Me. She's the daughter of a very famous author. And then, something that I will be exploring, Hotel Exile, Paris in the Shadow of War by Jane Rock-Saiker. Because, of course, Paris and France were occupied during the Second World War. Okay, and then finally, Artists, Siblings, Visionaries. This is interesting if you're interested in art. The Lives and Loves of Owen, Gwen, beg your pardon, and Augustus John, and that's by Judith Mackerel. And finally, Art Cure by Daisy Fancourt. The Science of How the Arts Transform Our Health, which of course they do. Do they not, Mr. Gibbons?
Living testimony to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously other things do as well, but as we've got a great poet in the building with us at this moment, he will tell you that writing poetry is cathartic. Yes?
Yes, it can be.
Yes, it can be.
Tell us what you're
Yes,
writing about.
I wrote a poem about yesterday's trip.
Yes,
where...
I've just been told that, actually.
Oh, really?
I have,
Oh, it's
yeah.
fame,
Miss
indeed.
Potts told me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I wrote it all out. I did my journal, which I very rarely do, and then I wrote a poem. And normally my poems, I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but normally my poems are exclusively 3 quatrains long. In other words, only 12 lines. And I completely broke my mould, and it was very long. So expect it as an unseen any time soon. Okay, right. The other thing I want to say, which is really, really sad, the author, artist, director who wrote this is really sad. Marjane Satrapi, she died on age 56. And it was announced on Tuesday. And if you're interested in the world at all and about what happens when a country that is beautiful, that is cultured, that is a beacon for poetry and art and storytelling turns into a dystopian nightmare, this is about it. Because she's French-Iranian, and it's a graphic novel. It's wonderful. I'm not a great graphic novel fan, but I love this. And also it's a film. You can watch the film. So this is from her, here she is. Here she is. That was her in 2011. And the film was done in 2007. Persepolis is a town that resonates through history because the Greeks defeated the Persians and the Persians defeated the Greeks, and Persepolis got really important. And also Iran is basically the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. And she grew up in Tehran on the Caspian Sea, and her parents were communist intellectuals, and that's anathema. That was just as far as the regime was concerned that came in 1979. Going back to Sharia law and Islam, imposing their view on the country, so that all women, what has to happen to all women in Iran? What do they have to wear?
Like some form of
Hair covering. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And if they don't, then they are likely to get taken off the street and something nasty will happen to it. Okay. And of course, at the moment, she would have been very, very sad to know that her country was being attacked, not in a helpful way at all. So it's sad. There is another text as well that we're going to try and get. But as I say, she lived in exile, like a lot of Iranians, for a very long time, because before the revolution, the Shah, who was kept in place by the West, was also very, very draconian. He didn't like any opposition, so that was enforced. But of course, in the last few years, not able to go back at all. And her final film, 2024, so she kept working, was Paradis Paris, Dear Paris. And we had another graphic novel called Woman, Life, Freedom. So there we are. So, 2 literary things to talk about. Right, I'm going to introduce Mr. Gibbons, once head of maths, now no longer, about to quit these shores, but we've had him before, so give him a big welcome, please. Mr. Gibbons. Woohoo!
Do I do it in the big chair?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please sit in the big chair.
Do you tend to sink
Nothing's changed around here.
to the chair? That used to be up there, though, didn't it?
Oh, we've moved it temporary down here.
Yes, because there's so many of us now, so...
Gosh, well, this is my third and possibly final.
No, it's not, but you never know.
No, it is.
Come back and tell us about your travels.
Yes. I see some familiar faces in here. See quite a few people I've not worked with before. This one's a personal one for me, really, because when I was your age, the country of Russia was the enemy. Was the great superpower that was loggerheads with the United States of America, which then stood for all that was good and free, and not quite so the case now. But Russia was the sworn enemy, and you may have heard of the Iron Curtain. The Iron Curtain that came down over Eastern Europe in the aftermath of the Second World War, where countries such as Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Montenegro, where this book was read. I always write in the corner of the inside front cover where I read this book. Countries like that were just not. It wasn't possible for people to visit when I was your age. As it happens, this year I hit my 55th birthday, and I am retiring this year. And my intention is to travel as many places I can that I've not been to before. And this book's not about the man that I'm just about to mention, but I can't start this session without mentioning him. My hero, political, probably in any field, is a man called Mikhail Gorbachev. Anyone heard of him?
Yes!
Mikhail Gorbachev.
My hero too.
Oh, Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in the old Soviet Union in 1985. The Soviet Union, please forgive any historical inaccuracy here, but I believe the Soviet Union had been in place for 68 years at that point, from 1917 through to 1985. And there had been a series of leaders of the Soviet Union who'd not lasted very long. Old, crumbling men who were late 70s and died a year later, early 80s and died a year later, and there was 3 of them, bang, 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 3 of them within 2 years, I think. And so Russia, which projected this idea of being a great power, in reality wasn't. We didn't know that at the time, and Russia was crumbling. And a revamp was required, and even the Politburo, the political cabinet, if you like, of Russia realised this. And Mikhail Gorbachev, who was my age, actually, I think he was 54 when he was, he was incredibly young, by far the youngest ever leader of the Soviet Union. And a totally different way of looking at things. Gorbymania, look it up. Gorbymania was infected the West. He was a rock star. Came over to the United Kingdom, got on famously well with Ronald Reagan, the then US president, got on famously well with Margaret Thatcher. Not sure how many people did that, but he did. Sorry. And became a star, but also a star with substance, because he basically, I could go on for hours about this, but he basically pulled down the Iron Curtain. It was done on his watch. The Berlin Wall and all of the revolutions that followed in the Eastern Bloc countries behind the Iron Curtain would not have happened without Mikhail Gorbachev. And the expectation was that, the freedoms that he was introducing in Eastern Europe, or he was enabling in Eastern Europe, would also happen in the Soviet Union. His intention was not to break up the Soviet Union. But the freedoms that got released were, what's the best way of saying this, were exploited, I think, by a small number of people in Russia who got fabulously wealthy very quickly. They later became known as the oligarchs, at the expense of the vast majority of people who life suddenly became very poor. They became very poor. And they associated these freedoms that were their experience of these freedoms was a rapid decline in their own lifestyle. Change just happened far too fast in the old Soviet Union. And whilst Gorbachev is much admired and is my hero, I think I'd get a very frosty reception if I was to say the same thing in Russia right now.
Yeah, he wasn't popular.
He's not popular. He died some years, well, not that many years ago. But it saddens me, genuinely saddens me, that his legacy in his homeland is not good. He's seen as a failure. He's seen as someone who broke Russia, and from him, although there was a leader in between, Boris Yeltsin, but Vladimir Putin was seen by many, probably still is, as the antidote to that.
Well, mind you, Putin has pushed that myth.
Oh yeah,
he's really pushed that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's propagated.
It's before I talk briefly about it. How long have I got tonight?
Till 5.
Till 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I talk about that, just a life lesson for you, because I probably won't teach you beyond this year. I might come in for the odd day if someone's not well, but in principle I won't be here. Life lesson: make sure you go to work meetings, even if you find them boring. Because when I was working in Madrid, where I worked from between 1999 and 2006, I was head of maths there. And I had a phone call I had to make to a parent who wasn't happy about an exam result. Okay, fine. So I thought, great, I'll get me out of the staff meeting. So I arranged to speak to the parent whilst the staff meeting, the briefing that we had, was going on. And I'll always regret that, because at the briefing there was a school trip that was running from Madrid to Barcelona, and it was a politics symposium that was being held in Barcelona for international schools in Spain. And they needed another member of staff to accompany the number of students that were going, just to make the ratios right. And you've probably guessed who was hosting the symposium and who was the star speaker. Do I need to tell you? Mikhail Gorbachev. I missed the chance to meet my hero, and I'm not. That's not hyperbole. I'm you know, feel whatever that feeling is when you're talking about something that really gets you. I've got it right now, going up there. I missed that chance, and you don't regret much in life, or you shouldn't regret much in life, but boy do I regret that. So go to work meetings. Just do it, because you never know. You never know what you might miss, and I will forever regret that. That chance has gone now, to meet him. Anyway, that's a pretty big preface to this book, because obviously we've had Vladimir Putin now for, gosh, how many years? 1999 was when he came to power, so that's 27 years. Gosh, what do I teach? 27 years. The reason why I pause there is because for 4 years, and this is an example of how it... I don't know, I'm not Russian, I would never pretend to know how it works, but I can't remember which year, but after his second term, I think, in 2009, I think they get... I don't know how long they get, 5 years, let's say. So in 2009, he had to step down as president, so he arranged a swap with his then Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, who assumed the presidency for 4 years while Putin became the Prime Minister. And then guess what happened in 5 years' time? Yeah, indeed. Back came the all-conquering Vladimir Putin, riding shirtless on his horse or whatever he does. Please don't send this tape to Vladimir Putin.
There's a wonderful program on iPlayer, 10 pictures that sum up a life, and Putin is, I think, one of the latest.
Right. So 10 pictures of Putin.
10 pictures that sum up the so right from the very beginning, when he was still in the KGB.
Oh yes.
Pictures of him.
Yes, I
And
think
they
I know the
talked to
photo he's talking about.
They talked to an art historian, a photographer, a social historian, the BBC correspondent who was in Moscow.
Could well be this person who's written this book.
Could be. Bridget Kendall.
No, Sarah Rainsford.
Right, okay, Bridget Kendall. And they look at the photographs, because it's an exercise in how he's changed, because he has changed physically.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, there are doubts that how many Putins there are. You know, how many stand-ins does he have? Because you're right. There are some changes there. I mean, I'm not buying into that particular conspiracy theory, perhaps, but yeah. So my affection for Russia, oddly, for a place I've never been, and is held up now as a demonic, invading, despotic place. My affection for Russia is strong because of Gorbachev and what it's meant for my own life and where I can go and what I can do. And also, at that school in Madrid, this is one of my prized possessions. This is a book that I taught to brother and sister. Now, they're different years. Andrei Kazantsev and his sister, Andrea Kazantseva, were people I taught, and they bought me when they were leaving. So I left the year after Andrea did. They bought me this book. It says algebra in Russian, and then startlingly, if you were to look at this book, this is the algebra they do in year 9. If you have a look at it, you'd be. I mean, it's in Russian, but you'll recognise the maths or not. It's tasty. Proviso there. We used to take quite a few students in from Russia and the Baltic countries as well in Madrid. They do algebra, but that's all they do in year 9 and year 10. So subsequently, I can think of students who I marked their entrance papers and they got 42%, but it was dynamite, pure dynamite, because they just knew algebra. But boy, could they do algebra! They'd seen things like probability and transformations and stuff like that. So this book is, it's always been my dream to go to Russia and have this book and read it, and talk maths in some bar in Moscow over a cheeky vodka. Sorry.
That's good.
So my affection is strong. This book, Goodbye to Russia. I was actually in a bookshop just looking for something else, looking at a present for my sister. And I just saw this. And Sarah Rainsford is a name I remember from, I watch a lot of news. I don't watch much telly, but I do watch a lot of news. And Sarah Rainsford was a face that was on my telly for years and years and years. BBC correspondent to Moscow. and she'd worked in Russia. She'd been in Russia for 3 decades, and was a principal reporter for the BBC for at least half of that time. And the goodbye is a personal one and a political one. And it focuses on. Forgive me. I hope this is going smoothly.
Oh, yes.
But I woke up this morning and saw Mr. Humphreys' email about. Have you remembered that it's Lit Soc? To which the honest answer was no. So this is very much me winging it, but I'm used to that from my lesson. So, yes, I have written some brief notes here, and I am going to read a few excerpts. I was always going to. Gosh, I was always going to read. Is that surprise that I'm winging a lesson? No, okay.
Could be.
Could be, yeah. I'm going to read a few excerpts from here as well, but I was always going to do that. But the notes I've put about here is there's 4 themes that I pick up and take from this book, and the first one is just the loss of Russia's promise. Sarah Rainsford arrived in Moscow in 1992, just after Gorbachev had been ousted. People had just got tired of the poverty that they were living in, and Boris Yeltsin, who was you've probably not heard of, but Boris Yeltsin, unless you study it, but Boris Yeltsin was a maverick, wild, good time figure who
Boris
loved
Johnson's
to
writ
dance
large.
and drink and kind of at the same time, and there's some famous footage of him dancing absolutely drunk with the American president. You should look at it. Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin, and if you want to see what a world leader looks like, absolutely drunk, then that's something you need to look at. But Boris Yeltsin had just taken over what was now Russia. The Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, and Russia and all the other Confederate states of the Soviet Union became the states, the independent states: Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Kazakhstan, etc. And Russia is by far the biggest, and Yeltsin was in charge of Russia. And Sarah Rainsford came to the Soviet Union in 1992. She worked originally in St. Petersburg, which is where Vladimir Putin was stationed as KGB. She strongly believes in here. There's a section about her time in St. Petersburg. She strongly believes she served Vladimir Putin a drink when she used to work in a bar at
Well, that's unusual.
the Britannia bar, actually, Britannia bar. So Vladimir Putin used to drink in the Britannia. This is an interesting one. And there's a recurring theme about the sorrow that she feels for what Russia could have been, and still could be, to what it has become, particularly in the most recent years, when Putin has perhaps been feeling more emboldened in his actions.
Now, isn't it?
People talk about the Ukraine, well, rightly so, talk about the Ukraine war, but this war didn't start in 2022. This war started in 2014 when Vladimir Putin. Do you know where he invaded? And
Crimea?
well, yeah, it's good. Crimea, which was, to be fair, given as a gift by Nikita Khrushchev, I think, the leader of the Soviet Union. It was a gift to Ukraine, the Crimea, but the Crimea became Ukrainian territory, Ukrainian land, and Putin changed that in 2014 and annexed the Crimea. So, emboldened by that, he's bided his time, and we have what we have now in Ukraine. But she doesn't at any stage seek to portray Russia as inevitably authoritarian. And throughout the book, there are fond memories of how it used to be, and as I say, how it could be, and still could be. But it will obviously need Vladimir Putin not to be there. There's the second theme that comes through the book for me is the human story. She knows quite a lot of the people she writes about, and we're talking about political activists, we're talking about opposition politicians, we're talking about ordinary citizens, part of her life. I'm going to focus on one of them in particular with one of the excerpts I read, but 3 I've highlighted here. Alexei Navalny, who you may have heard of, Alexei Navalny, and Boris Nemtsov, are both worth a mention here, just two just to give a flavour for how it seems to be over there. Boris Nemtsov was a leader of a political party that dared to challenge and stand against Vladimir Putin. He was mysteriously, no one's ever been convicted for it, he was mysteriously shot on the bridge going over the Moskva River well, it wasn't daylight, it was in the evening. There's Alexei Navalny, who is another, I forget the name of the party. Does anyone, can you remember the name of the party he led, the movement he led? Forgive me my ignorance. But Alexei Navalny was poisoned on route somewhere within Russia, so he decided
back,
to...
wasn't he?
Say again?
He was going back.
Yes, he was poisoned on the flight coming back from Dortmund, I think. He took temporary exile in Dortmund in Western Germany. Was poisoned on the plane coming back, and was eventually sent for some charge of trumped up charge, and was sent to a camp in Siberia, a labour camp in Siberia, where he died mysteriously of natural causes, and is no longer around.
The Anti-Corruption Foundation.
Anti-Corruption Foundation,
Which just
thank you.
doesn't it?
And the third one, I'm going to read an excerpt in a minute about her, is a lady who's when she was still alive, I read a book about her, Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist for Novaya Gazeta, which is one of the newspapers, new journal, I think. Novaya Gazeta, which, was critical of Putin. Politkovskaya was the only journalist who was prepared to go into Chechnya. I don't know if you're aware of Chechnya, and I couldn't tell you totally, I'm no expert on things, but there were...
Russia's Gaza.
Say again?
Russia's Gaza.
I'm trying to think. Beslan wasn't Chechnya, was it? The school. The Beslan was in. There was a school in a town. It was in North Ossetia, in Georgia.
Yeah, but it was stormed by Chechen.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But there was a school in North Ossetia where I think 300 children were killed. Politkovskaya was the only journalist who was prepared to actually get on the ground in Chechnya and North Ossetia to investigate what was going on there. Well, that's my maths book. Let me read this. This is from a chapter called "Journalists Should Die Old," which is a quote from Anna Politkovskaya. Forgive me, it's a couple of pages long. Forgive my indulgence. I won't go beyond 5 o'clock. On 7th of October 2006, Anna Politkovskaya was shot dead as she entered her Moscow block of flats. The gunman fired 4 times, hitting her in the chest and in the head. He dropped his pistol and fled the scene. Eventually 5 men, including 3 Chechen brothers, were found guilty of organising and carrying out the killing. But the person who hired the hit squad has never been found, just as in the murder of Boris Nemtsov, who I referred to earlier, a decade later. Like Nemtsov's killing, many would suspect the involvement of Ramzan Kadyrov, the boxer and thug who took over running Chechnya after his father's assassination in 2004. He arrived to meet Putin in the Kremlin, then wearing a sky blue tracksuit. To Politkovskaya, Ramzan was a complete idiot, bereft of education and brains, but he was also extremely dangerous. In 2018, I, Sarah Rainsford, would confront Kadyrov myself. I'd heard he was opening a ski resort in the Chechen mountainside, once controlled by separatist fighters. So I signed up for a press tour. At the time, I was reporting on allegations that gay men were being detained, tortured, and even killed by Kadyrov's security forces. I'd interviewed some of the victims in a Moscow safe house, and their accounts of abuse were chilling. A leading human rights activist had also been detained. The case against him clearly fabricated. So when Kadyrov, who clearly got on with Vladimir Putin, when Kadyrov hopped off his shiny new chairlift in a gaudy ski suit, I was standing in his path in the snow. His grin faded. To my questions, Kadyrov snapped that human rights activists were all stooges of the West who had sold out their country. You know who defends human rights here? He threw his head back to cackle with his sinister adult kid laugh, mimicked by all the men huddled around him. I persisted for a while, unaware that his heavies had already dragged away my cameraman, Matt, by the scruff of his neck. Our team was then stuck in the mountains for several hours, worrying about how badly we'd angered him, as Kadyrov and his guests ate hunks of barbecued meat and cooed over a display of motorcycle stunt riders flying through the sky over bursts of bright orange fire. Much of Politkovskaya's later reporting had focused in depth on the abuses committed by the Chechen leader and his men. Kadyrov declared himself saddened and shaken by her death and warned against unfounded accusations against him. Vladimir Putin claimed she had minimal influence on life in Russia and implied that the journalist wasn't worth killing. The day Politkovskaya was shot was Putin's 54th birthday, and some thought her silencing was meant as a gift. There's a bit more to that page, but I think that's an appropriate place to stop, actually. It's quite a powerful line to stop on. I don't think that was a coincidence at all. Ukraine. And I've referenced Crimea also in here. But the full, in my opinion, this book, I think, was being written before the invasion of Ukraine had actually started, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And I think it changed the scope of the book whilst it was being written. And what was an examination of Russia's internal political decline becomes and became, in this book, an account of a major European war. And I think that Rainsford's central argument is that external aggression and internal repression are not unlinked, and that the system that Putin has used to silence critics, detailed in the Politkovskaya case a minute ago, that internal aggression has made Putin feel that war was possible abroad, and that people standing by and not challenging Politkovskaya's death and Nemtsov's death and Navalny's poisoning has, and you may remember, I don't know how, forgive me, you know what I'm going to say about the Salisbury Cathedral?
Yeah, the Salisbury poisoning.
Do you remember? Have you heard of that? You guys will be too young when it actually happened, but I don't know if you've heard about it. Look it up. The Salisbury.
And it wasn't the first incident either.
No, it wasn't. There was Alexander Litvinenko who was poisoned with
and in a teacup in the Grosvenor Hotel in Victoria.
That's right.
As well.
With Alexander Litvinenko was a Russian dissident who'd come over to London and was poisoned by polonium, which is a strong nuclear radioactive substance, and if there was some polonium lying around in this room today, this school would be closed and this area would be shut for quite some time. He was poisoned with polonium in his tea. A few years later, in Salisbury Cathedral, another ex-Russian dissident who turned against Putin, Sergei Skripal, I think his name was, Sergei Skripal, was living in Salisbury, and changed name, changed identity, and they had located him, and they put, I think it was a substance called Novichok. Novichok
he was a military man, wasn't he? Or certainly in the armed services.
Yes.
Yeah.
They put Novichok on his door, and he was. His daughter was poisoned as well. I think the daughter survived, Yulia, but Sergei Skripal, I think, did die of the poisoning. Did he? Is that, have I got that right?
I thought they survived.
They both survived, and it was a lady. That's right.
A policeman who also survived, but at a terrible. Well,
yes.
He's fine now.
Yes, but there was a fatality, and it was a lady who just was retrieving something from the bin.
The gentleman retrieved it from the bin.
Yes.
For her present.
Yes.
Her birthday present.
Yes, and just totally inadvertently got Novichok that had been thrown away. That's the value these guys have on human life. They just thought they could throw something like that in.
They posed as tourists to Salisbury Cathedral, which is really famous because it has the biggest spire in Britain, and it's also been painted by Constable, and they posed as tourists and didn't even go to the cathedral.
No, and when this had all happened and they names got
they saw
put out there for
on
suspects for who
CCTV,
they wanted.
didn't they?
Forgive me, I don't remember the names, but they then appeared on Russian television, no doubt all sanctioned by the Kremlin, and they were there just basically laughing at the West by saying, "Oh no, it has always been our dream to visit Salisbury Cathedral. When we were growing up, we were just enchanted by the height of the Salisbury Cathedral spire." They're laughing at us, or without laughing at us.
Yeah.
And it's this culture which I think has convinced Putin ultimately that
We're weak.
that we are weak, yeah, and we won't stand up. But obviously, Ukraine is very much standing up, and Slava Ukraina.
Yeah, it's really important to remember that every day in Ukraine, people are going to school.
Yeah.
They have to leave school to go down into the underground stations, to go into the safe basements, because the drones are coming over day and night. And for many, 20,000 Ukrainian children, they may never see their proper parents again. Because they've been kidnapped, brainwashed, and indeed mothers who've gone to the Crimea they've negotiated to get them back. Some of the children don't want to come back because they were very young when they were taken, because obviously now it's 4 years.
Yeah, 2022, February 22.
Yeah, it is 4 years now.
4.5 years.
And therefore they've settled with their foster parents, and they may not remember their real parents. This was the tragic situation after the war with Jewish children, kinder transport.
Absolutely.
If their parents survived, they may not remember them. This is the displacement of war and the horror, and this is the split, isn't it? This is the tragedy.
I'm going to end because I'm conscious of time, but there are 4 or 5 chapters in here where she'll have been talking. Rainsford will have been talking about this activist and this person in her life that she saw every day, and then there's also this kind of mythology through the book, which every so often you'll get an episode about her expulsion and how it came to light, and how from her the first time she realised she was on the blacklist of Vladimir Putin to her finally being expelled. I've not got time to read all 4 or 5. You probably wouldn't want to hear them, but I thought this is the first one. The heading is from the chapter. It's early on in the book, page 35. Security threat. And I won't read the whole, but if you forgive me, I'll read a bit. I'll read 3 pages of it, if that's okay. Missing out the middle 2, and that should see us right. I think this. I'd like to read this bit.
Yeah, do.
Moscow Airport, 10th of August 2021. Sarah Elizabeth, you are banned from entering Russia as a threat to national security. The border guard at Sheremetyevo Airport was reading from a single sheet of paper with a solemn air that was almost theatrical. But the words coming out of his mouth made no sense. What do you mean, banned? I asked, unable to take it in. I'm a journalist. Is that a threat? I'd just flown back to Moscow from Minsk, the capital of Belarus, where I'd had a tough encounter with Alexander Lukashenko, the authoritarian leader of Belarus and a very close ally of Vladimir Putin. He'd been hosting his big conversation, an annual event to which a handful of foreign journalists are usually invited. It was exactly a year since Lukashenko's rigged re-election as president for a 6th term had set off nationwide protests on a scale never seen in Belarus. Some 40,000 peaceful demonstrators were arrested, 40,000, and hundreds were still serving prison terms. In the years since the protests were crushed, tens of thousands of Belarusians had fled abroad for safety as the purge of opposition supporters continued, despite Western sanctions. Belarus, by the way, meaning White Russia. It's immediately to the west of Russia. How do you respond to the notion that you have lost legitimacy as president and that now, for sure, Belarus needs change? I had asked, live on Belarusian state television. After listing the reasons for my question, Lukashenko erupted. From behind his giant wooden desk, he pronounced the injuries inflicted to detainees, giant bruises seen and filmed by my BBC colleagues, as fake, dear girl, fake. He'd claimed that the protesters had thrown themselves at riot police. He then barked that I was an American lapdog, and told me the West could choke on its sanctions. His acolytes in the gaudy hall of the presidential palace applauded gleefully, before turning on me with a vitriolic tirade that lasted almost half an hour. Back at our hotel late in that evening, we were we were editing some of the time to retire. We were editing some of the exchange into a TV report when a news flash on my phone announced that Russia had imposed new sanctions against British citizens deeply involved in anti-Russian activities. It was retaliation for 2 previous rounds of UK sanctions against Russian officials, one for allegations of corruption and the other for human rights abuses in Chechnya, which included the disappearance and torture of gay men. Now, Russia's foreign ministry had declared a number of unnamed British citizens to be hostile. Entry to Russia is closed to them. The statement accused the UK of leading a global race to blacken Russia's name and called for an end to the unfounded policy of confrontation. I joked to my team that I was probably on the new Russian blacklist, and they laughed at my melodrama. The next morning in Moscow, the 2 of them sailed through passport control, but I was stopped. The guard in the glass booth asked me to step to one side as she began scanning every page of my passport. It's just a technicality. She was polite, even reassuring, so I allowed myself to hope that it was a computer glitch or some act of mild intimidation. The border guards in Moscow had been scrutinising our passports more closely lately, peering through a magnifying glass and tugging at pages, asking questions about our work. So what do you report on? I would always reply as breezily as possible, just life in Russia. That it was uncomfortable, that was uncomfortable, but this felt different. Several men in uniform approached the cabin. There were hushed conversations and glances in my direction, and my heart began to beat faster. I messaged my producer. 0756, problem at border. 3 men asking me what I am here for and told me to wait 5 minutes, hopefully just a tech issue. Missed 2 pages. 1 page to go. That's all right.
It's fine, Mike.
At 0824, I messaged my husband. Having some odd problem at the border. I assume it's all part of the game, but it's not good. I hope they're just trying to make me sweat. I put off telling him, not wanting to worry him unless I had to.
Was he in Russia, Mike?
Yes.
He was in Russia.
Yes, and he's mentioned by the name of Kez. His real name I don't think is mentioned, but she's very, very protective of those.
So probably a business.
Yes.
Businessman in Russia.
Yes.
Or certainly
I
maybe
don't get the
maybe
impression
yes.
he's Russian. I don't get the impression he's Russian.
No.
No. But you hear very little of him and
Right.
family, I guess, presumably
Yeah.
she's trying to
Yeah,
protect them, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Now I said to him I had no idea what was happening and he should probably stay close to the phone. At 0850, I was anxious enough to contact the British ambassador, although I was embarrassed about bothering her. I don't know why I'm telling you. I guess there's nothing that the embassy can do in these cases, I typed. By then, I'd had enough of sitting patiently and started quizzing every passing official about my fate. At some point, a junior guard dashed up to ask for more documents, the rental contract for my flat, any kind of ID, even my office entry pass. He didn't know what exactly. Just give me anything you have, he said. I then spotted an official heading towards me with the sure stride and rounder belly that suggested a higher rank. At 0915, Lieutenant Colonel Vischenko of Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, used to be the KGB if you've ever heard of them in olden days, but they became the FSB, called me into his office. Following him in, I switched on the recorder on my phone. Powerless to change what was happening, I wanted at least to be able to report on it. As the guard tried to read out his official text, no more than a couple of paragraphs, I kept interrupting, trying to make him clarify and justify what was happening and what he was saying. You are refused entry to the Russian Federation, indefinitely. The initiator is the FSB, he told me solemnly. Do you understand? He asked in Russian. I understand you very well. I just don't understand what's going on. The Lieutenant Colonel attempted to explain. On the recording, he sounded flustered. My own voice is upset but insistent. There then follows a conversation between the guard and Sarah Rainsford. Guard, it's for the protection of the security of the Russian Federation. You mean I'm a threat to Russia? You can find out more from the initiator. I'm a threat to the Russian Federation. Do I look like I'm a threat? I'm a journalist. I know. We found all the information on you. This is outrageous. I've been coming here since 1992. My whole life is here. How can you refuse me entry to a country that's like my own? It was a while before I registered that the ban on entering Russia had no expiry date. Sarah Rainsford, you mean I can't come here ever again? Yeah. Are you serious? Yes. What for? We don't have that information. You realise that this is politics. What did I do? What article did I write? I can't tell you. But I've warned you that you will be criminally responsible if you try to cross the border. Sign here. I looked at the FSB guard holding out a pen, and I looked at the paper and felt my eyes welling up with tears that I wouldn't let fall. I didn't want my distress recorded. The paper on the counter confirmed that I'd been refused entry to Russia to ensure the defensive capability and security of the state. Someone had scrawled Bezrochno indefinitely. I took the pen and signed my name in anger. Then a guard led me back to the broken row of seats and told me to wait there to be deported. As it happens, she wasn't deported on that evening. She was deported some months later.
Oh, right, so they let her in the end?
They let her in the end.
Because family was there? Children?
I think it was, yes. I think also there was pressure exerted by the embassy in Russia.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
But it wasn't enough. Then she was deported some months later. No, about 3 or 4 months before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So she was deported in late 2021.
This is really interesting. I've got her up in Wikipedia.
Oh, right.
It's published by Bloomsbury,
Okay.
and of course it's non-fiction, which means probably that Atifa was because
Oh, it's Eva Jiwa. Wow.
she's
Yeah.
worked for Bloomsbury.
Someone I used to
non-fiction.
teach. Someone, an ex-student of Surbiton High
So
School.
it's more than likely that
Yeah.
she would be guilty.
Yeah. It's a tremendous read. I read
Yeah.
it, and it was very poignant for me because of where I was when I read it. I was very, very aware. It's my scribbled handwriting. Podgorica, which is capital of Montenegro in the former Yugoslavia, and Yugoslavia was part of the Iron Curtain. There is absolutely no way I'd have been able to go to Podgorica without Mikhail Gorbachev and the reforms that he brought in, long-lasting in Europe, totally reversed by Vladimir Putin. And this book is a chilling diary of the path that got changed, the path that Russia could have been, but absolutely wasn't. And
Can I just ask one question?
Of course you can, yeah.
What is the sentiment like in Montenegro? Because I've been hearing things from Serbia in particular. It's quite pro-Putin.
interesting, isn't it? I didn't really pick too. I would say the best answer to that in Montenegro is the fact that everything there's a not everything, that's not true, but most things now are rewritten in the Latin script,
Right.
which suggests to me.
Now that's really interesting
Mm.
because that's not. It's happened a little bit in Ukraine,
Mm.
but not to the extent that it seemed to be right at the beginning.
Yeah. In you mentioned Serbia. I was in Belgrade 2 years ago in the summer holiday for a week, and I'd been previously in I think the Easter term. I'd been to Zagreb, capital of Croatia, next door to Serbia. Croatia is incredibly Europe leaning. Montenegro's got the euro, so there's the answer to that question.
There you go, yeah.
Montenegro,
Simple answer.
it's not the
Straightforward.
official currency, but everyone, you can't pay with anything other than the euro.
Wow.
It wants to be. It's posting itself as the 28th by
So everybody's
28.
waiting.
They want to be the 28th country, and
Yeah.
they want to join in 2028. So it's very Europe leaning. As was Zagreb, as was Croatia. Also now using the euro. Serbia and Belgrade, couldn't have been more different.
That's traditional,
Serbia,
though, isn't
everything's
it?
in Cyrillic script.
But funny.
Yeah.
But that goes right back
Mm.
to Tsarist Russia.
Yeah.
Because Tsarist Russia came in to protect Serbia from Austria.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep, absolutely.
So
And
nothing new
it's
there.
very obviously a pro Russia and Russian leaning. You don't have to look far for a Putin T-shirt, for a Putin fridge magnet. You'll see them within 5-10 minutes in the centre of Belgrade. It's a nice city. I enjoy Belgrade. Spectacular views of the Danube, but I'm glad I went. It's the closest I've felt to being in Russia without being in Russia. And next year, one of my travels, I'm going to shut up in a minute. One of my travels is to a place called Narva, which is in it's the most easternmost point of the European Union. It's on the Narva River. The town gets its name from the river, and it is right on the border with Russia. And across the River Narva, you can see the town of Ivangorod. Gorod meaning city, so Ivan's city in over the border in Russia. And it is I am going when I go there I can't go to Russia. Won't be allowed to walk
So
across.
is that the Finnish border?
Say again?
Is that the Finnish
No,
border?
Estonian.
Oh,
Estonian and Russian border. But I want to shout across to a Russian. I am learning a little bit of Russian now, and I want to shout across to a Russian and have a conversation across the river. I can't go yet, but one day I hope to. One day I hope to, and one day I will. I hope I outlive Vladimir Putin. Don't send this tape to Vladimir Putin, as I said earlier.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Just
Thank you for your attention. I enjoyed it.
Any,
Cheers.
very
any
much.
other questions, girls?
Yeah, please.
Any other questions? No?
actually,
On this programme, 10 Pictures,
Mm.
it's Bridget Kendall who...
Yeah, I know.
You remember?
Yeah, no, I remember her
She
name.
tells a story of questioning Putin, and he completely undermined her
Mm.
because she asked a question, I think, about maybe corruption, something like
Mm.
that, I'm not sure, or how next term or something like that. Anyway, he didn't want to answer it, and so what he did was he said, oh, I know, it was about how much money he'd made, and he's made an absolute fortune.
Oh, yeah.
His property ownership in Russian is unbelievable, beyond any oligarch. And the oligarchs basically cornered the market in oil, gas, coal, you name it, they cornered the market in it. And Putin's done even more. And he said to her, how much is the pearl necklace worth around your neck? And she was completely nonplussed. She said, I just don't understand what you mean.
Mm.
And he just looked at her, and as she said when she was discussing the picture, she said, he completely shocked me. I just was so surprised. And what I should have said, I think what she means to imply is that what I should have said is, what business is that?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm asking the questions
what
here.
he's saying is, what business is this?
Yeah, of course.
About my property.
Yeah.
Because of course it's all money stolen from the Russian people.
Mm.
But of course we still have a Moscow correspondent at this moment.
We do, yes.
Yeah,
I think
Steve
it's-
Rosenberg.
Yes, that's right, Steve Rosenberg, indeed.
It's
And
really interesting.
yeah,
on
and
Russia,
Stephen
isn't it?
and Sarah Rainsford is now correspondent for Eastern Europe, so covering Croatia and Belgrade and countries. Serbia and such countries. Also, when you see Vladimir Putin, if you hear him talk, he speaks fluent English. You'll never hear him do. I have seen footage of him. Probably not there anymore, but on YouTube talking about the Sochi Winter Olympics, and I forget who he was in conversation with, but I was startled at how good his English is. He just chooses not to. He doesn't want to show any weakness, but his English is very good.
Well, of course, there's that. One of the pictures they show is that the enormous dining table, where he's at one end and Macron's at the other.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so enormous that you.
That's
it
born.
just
I think that's born out of
ludicrous.
COVID. Actually, he was absolutely obsessive.
Well, he's obsessive about his health.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Bird will tell you. You know that, don't you?
What's that?
Mr. Bird had to cook for him.
Putin.
Yeah.
Gosh, I did not know that.
Yeah. I'll
Good
tell you about
grief.
it
well,
off
you all
camera.
know as well, man.
I'll tell you about it off
Yeah,
camera.
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea.
We'll have to edit that out.
Blimey.
Yeah, of course, with Steve Rosenberg, he feels quite cut off, but he's famous now on Radio 3
Yeah.
because he plays the piano.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he composes, and he puts this all out on podcasts and does programs about it as well. So, yeah, but he's treading a very fine line, as he knows. So, yeah.
So, look at Mikhail Gorbachev. Look at Boris Yeltsin dancing drunk with Bill Clinton. It's tremendously funny, yet vaguely alarming.
Yes.
That was leader of Russia.
Can I ask you? I know we probably talked about this before, but John le Carré.
Yeah, I read a lot of his work.
Yeah.
I didn't get into John le Carré till really late, and the reason why I got into John le Carré is because of an author called Charles Cumming. I don't know if you've heard of Charles Cumming.
I have, but I've never read it.
I worked with Charles. Charles Cumming is a very, very accomplished spy writer now.
Oh,
He's,
right, okay.
I worked with his wife when I was over in Madrid, Melissa. She was an English teacher at school, and she was over because Charlie was over researching his third book, which is called The Spanish Game.
Well, of course, I mean, Russia was heavily involved in the Spanish Civil War, wasn't it?
Through reading Charlie's books and getting into that genre, which I hadn't been previously, I then thought, well, let's give John le Carré a try. And absolutely adored it, yeah.
All right, should we go, Mr. Gibbons?
Thank
Oh,
you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Worthy successor to all the others. Brilliant. Thank
Right,
you very much.
Thank you. Everyone needs to go. Yeah,
Anyone needs to go,
just
rush
remember,
off.
you don't have to
Don't
stay.
have to stay.